Hello everyone, my name is Chris Goode, and I help people transform the pain of a breakup into a life of power and purpose. And I do so using various strategies and tools, but my particular field of expertise is in hypnotherapy and coaching. And so today I want to talk about the thing that keeps us stuck when it comes to breakup pain. And so if you've been somebody who's still dealing with the heartache and the pain of a breakup after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months or longer, then this is the video for you. Now, the first thing I want to say is, I get it. When you lose someone that you love, it is incredibly painful. And oftentimes we can struggle with properly grieving the experience and learning to let go. And part of this has to do with our unwillingness to accept the situation that we're in, to accept reality as it is, to accept the fact that the person that we were with is no longer there, but they're gone. And so the sooner that we can come to terms with the facts, the sooner that we can come to terms with reality, the easier it's going to be for us to feel better about our situation and start making decisions and choices that are going to help to cultivate the kind of experience that we are longing for. One that is not consumed by the pain of a breakup, but rather is filled with the experience of a vibrant life, one that's filled with hope, one that's filled with opportunity, one where we're focused on solutions and focused on possibility and potential rather than what was. We can focus on what will be. And so the first thing when it comes to acceptance is it can't be something where we're like, yeah, I accept that, because I know so many of us have done that where you'll say like, yeah, I forgive that person. But do you really forgive them? Have you really let that go? Because what we're aiming for isn't something that you can just simply say consciously, like, yeah, I accept that person. I accept these circumstances. I accept this reality. But rather, it's coming to terms experientially, being at ease and at a state of peace. And oftentimes this means coming to terms with our emotions and what's going on within us. If you haven't allowed yourself to properly grieve the experience that you were in, what could be happening is there's emotions deep within you that they're running amok, they're stuck. And when we push those things down, they tend to weed up in all kinds of ways. And what we'll do is we'll cut the weeds, but we won't pick at the root. And the last thing I want to see for you is constantly cutting weeds and never getting down to the root of the issue. And so there's things that we can do to help us to process this experience. Things like yoga, meditation, journaling. These things can help us to be more in tune with what's going on within us. And then as a result, we're able to allow those things to move so that we can move on. The other thing is, when you don't have a compelling future to aim towards, we're often stuck looking backwards and remembering what was. And there's a reason we're not there anymore. Something happened. Somebody wasn't feeling the same way that we were, or there was infidelity, or the relationship started getting toxic and unhealthy. Whatever the reasons were, the fact is they're not with us any longer. They're not with you any longer. And the more you dwell on the good times and just trying to remember how things were instead of focusing in on how things could be for you in the future, the harder you're going to have in letting go, because you keep reminding yourself of how good it was back there, how nice it was back there. And that's unfortunate, because you're never going to find something that's worthwhile to aim towards. And the only way that you find those worthwhile things to aim towards is by going out, by experiencing new things, or by reintroducing you to the things that you used to love. And what are those things? What are those things that you used to love? Do you remember? Do you remember what it was like to do things that you were passionate about? Because we tend to experience pleasant emotions and cultivate those kinds of feelings when we're moving towards something that causes us to improve in some sort of skill, whether we're becoming more socially adept or we're being able to influence our experience in a much more positive way. And the conundrum that you might be facing now is you may feel hopeless. You might feel hopeless in this moment. You may be like, there's no way. And here's the tragedy with hopelessness. When it comes to being hopeless, you never take the steps needed to make progress. And progress is often the thing that causes us to feel a sense of hope. It feels worthwhile to move towards the future. Why would you make any effort if it was impossible? But that insidious belief that lurks underneath the surface for you is exactly the thing that's holding you back. And so you take no effort. You take no chances. You don't do the things you need to improve, and therefore you're hopeless. And because you're hopeless, you don't take any chances in order to improve. And so you can see how self-destructive this sort of belief is. And whatever happened, it doesn't matter if it was your fault or you contributed to it, or allow yourself the opportunity to be human. You made a mistake. Maybe you didn't make any mistake. You don't need to personalize it either. It's not your fault. Somebody chooses to be unfaithful, that's on them, you know, and maybe there was things that you could have done to help the relationship. But ultimately, people are responsible for their choices. And so now I'm going to ask you, what are you going to be responsible for in your life? Are you going to take ownership over the choices and the decisions that you're making, so that way you can move from where you're at to where you could be? And maybe you don't even know what that is right now. Maybe it's hard to imagine what the future could possibly be. But this is me asking you to move. Isn't it enough? Isn't it enough that day by day you suffer? That day by day you're in pain? Day by day, it's the same thing over and over again, that you keep staying in the past where this relationship was, instead of moving towards something meaningful. You know, at one point, long before this breakup, you were in a place where you were looking forward to the relationship, and perhaps it brought a lot of good out of you. And for whatever reason, during the relationship, things came undone. And it may or may have not been your fault. But the point is, you're here right now. And if you want something to change, you have to create movement. And we create movement through action, not through sulking over the past. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to be sad. I want you to be able to express those emotions and to be aware of them. It's okay if you need to cry. It's okay if you need to grieve. Maybe that's something you need to do now. Give yourself permission to do that. And then when you feel the emotion and you let it run its course, get up and do something. Do something today that is going to start to plant the seeds, to water the seeds, to grow the seeds that cultivate an experience in your life that is pleasant, meaningful, empowering, that gives you a sense of purpose, and that gives you a sense of power to regain that sense of control and influence that you need in your life to move forward. And the only way you're going to do that is by actually getting up and moving. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to become someone better, something different? I think the time is now. You can do this.